This is Ricky D from XCC, kicking it to you live from the Excalibur Custom Shop. We're here today in the process of a fabrication project that we started about a week ago. Essentially what we decided to do was to take a 23-inch LCD monitor and install it on the hatchback portion of a 07 Dodge Magnum, which just happens to be my ride. What we did was we created a fiberglass enclosure onto which we can mount the TV from the rear, and then we decided to go ahead and surround the speakers, surround the monitor with speakers. If you look over here, I can show you what I'm talking about. This is essentially the frame for the 23-inch touchscreen LCD that we installed, and then we decided to take it a step further and add speakers. We added 4 tweeters and 2 mids. And again, here at XCC, we just love to push the envelope even further, so we decided to go ahead and do lighting. Now, the problem with doing lighting on this project is that if we were to put the lights on the outside and lit them up, you see it would be disturbing to those either playing the Xbox or watching music videos at car shows. So what we decided to do was to take the speaker covers, flip them around, and install the LEDs on the back portion of the actual speaker cover, so when you mount it onto the speaker, it would reflect into the speaker and not out into the people looking at the actual product. Essentially, this is what we're going to do today. We're going to work on a little project to show you guys how to customize your car at a reasonable cost, and be able to do the project yourself, because it's really not that hard to do. Essentially, you don't really need that many tools. You would need a wire cutter, you would need a snip, you would need a soldering iron or soldering gun, and obviously the LEDs. Now, these LEDs can be purchased anywhere reasonably cheap. I think they were like $19 a piece, and the reason that we decided to go with these strips opposed to just getting individual LEDs is because the LEDs that I was looking for, or the LEDs that are out there, were too big and bulky, and it would impede and it would hinder the ability to hide them behind the speaker, because we want to keep a clean look, so it will be difficult for people to see where the lighting is coming from. If you look a little closer here, I took the liberty of peeling off the rubber that covers this. If you look at the actual piece here, you'll see that they have a rubber piece that covers it up. It's like a protection. And essentially what I did was I just peeled back the rubber and I exposed the LEDs. Now, these LEDs are great because they are so small. They're actually half the size of an actual LED that you would pick up in any retail store. So now what we would do is, you see the LEDs here individually. What we want to do is, before cutting them into pieces, what we want to do is get a razor and just scrape the sides off so we can get to the actual copper that's there, because we're going to actually use that to tap in wires through soldering so we can create our connections. Essentially what you do is you just hold the snip to the left, grab the snips and put them over to the right, and there you go, you have the little piece exposed. Now, this little LED, obviously we know that an LED has an anode and a cathode, which means it has a positive side and a negative side. If as you see now, this is the anode on this side and this is the cathode on the other side. When we touch them, it lights up, but if you flip it around, it will not work. Why? Because this LED is a light emitting diode, and this diode only allows current to flow in one direction. So now that we've established the left and the right side, oh, by the way, if you guys are thinking about doing this in series, I really don't recommend it. Essentially what happens is I tried doing it in series just to save myself space behind the cover. The problem is that if you go 4 or more, the actual light starts to dissipate, the voltage drops, and because what happens is when you string them up in series, the voltage gets dissipated every time it passes at each and every LED. Now, if you put them in parallel, like I did here, it's a little bit more time consuming, but at the end of the day, what happens is you can just put an endless amount of LEDs and not have to worry about them dying on you. Now, if you look over here, this is the actual LED. I took the LED, just to give you a quick example, and I grabbed my hot gun, my soldering gun, and some soldering. What I did is I just dabbed a dab of solder to the left and one to the right. Then after I let it cool off a little bit, I essentially just put wires like this onto the actual LED, one to the front, one to the back, and then again I just heated it up some more and dabbed it. The end result that I wound it up with was this. As you see, now the reason that these wires are spaced out like this is because I took my wire cutter, my snipper, and what I did was I squeezed into it and I pushed over to create a space to give me enough room to solder the piece onto the actual LED itself. The end result that you wind up with is, of course, now you have, see, no matter where I touch this now, the light is going to work because they're connected in parallel, you see? So now essentially in each and every space here, what you're gonna have is another LED lined up. Now it's very important for you to study whatever it is that you're gonna be customizing in terms of lighting. Why? Because A, you wanna be able to hide the wire. B, you want to be able to mount it, which we're going to use a hot glue gun to do that in a little bit. But C, you also want to determine where the wire is going to end and how you're going to connect it through the actual unit that you have, you're going to connect the speaker cover onto. You don't want any surprises mid-job and have to take 5 steps back and redo things 4 or 5 times. It's happened to me. If you take a quick look over here, what I took the liberty of doing was I mapped out on the actual speaker itself where I wanted the lighting to be. So what I did was I did 1, 2, 3, I did 6 LEDs on this particular piece like so. So in this way, I can squeeze the wires to hide behind the actual frame so you would not be able to see them. This is what it pretty much looks like after it's been all assembled. Now to assemble them, it's very simple. You just take the hot glue gun and you just spread some hot glue, position the place where you want it, blow on it a little bit, and then position the next one, so on, so on, and so on. And pretty much this is the end result that you're going to wind up with. Now you can use more lighting, you can use less lighting. I pretty much decided that this would be ample for my project. If you take a look here, you can see now that it is actually lit up, but it's not affecting your eyesight at all, and it looks really cool. Just to give you an example, we took the liberty of doing this prior to doing this series, so I'm just going to plug these in right quick so you can get a visual to see how they actually look. I think it's a very cool effect. And see, this is the way they actually look now. I'm going to go shut the light off real quick so you can get a better idea of what I'm talking about. See, now also what we're planning on doing is installing a sound sensor, so when the music is playing in the car, you would get this effect. We're also are in the process of lighting up the tweeters, which has become rather difficult because the tweeter itself, we have to actually break it apart to actually install the LEDs, to then reassemble it and then install it into the unit itself. But eventually we'll obviously accomplish that. But at the end of the day, it's a very simple project. It does not take much to do. Let me put the light back on. So as you see, guys, it's really a simple project. One thing it is very, very time consuming. I spent roughly 45 minutes per cover. And that's after I had destroyed a whole bunch of them and damaged a whole bunch of them. Again, once you repeal the rubber off, be very careful because the LEDs can rip off, and if they rip off, they're pretty much useless. Also, don't forget to scrape the sides because that's where we're going to be soldering onto. The project itself is great. I mean, roughly, you're probably looking at about $40 in materials, and like I said before, it doesn't take much. A couple of pliers, a soldering iron, some wire, and creativity. And if you have all those things, then you're obviously going to succeed. The car game is a very expensive game. Audio, video, lighting, paint, rims, the whole 9 yards. So anything that you can do to your car at a decent cost is definitely worthwhile doing. And the difference between you and the next guy at a car show is the steps that you're willing to go beyond that they're not. Yes, it is very tedious, it is time consuming, but by the time you're done, it will look beautiful. Hopefully later on today what we'll do is we'll take you down to the garage where we will be installing this unit and show you the end result of everything lit up so you can see how awesome it looks in the car. But as for now, see you soon.